Now here on Radio 2 for Waggoners Walk. The start of another working week as Peter and Liz get ready to face a busy Monday.
Oh, damn, that's all I need.
Now what?
My shaving cream's run out.
Oh, darling, I'm sorry about that. I caught Jill and Jane playing with it the other day and I meant to warn you to get a new one.
Now she tells me. Oh, well, I'll just have to use soap, I suppose.
You could be really daring and not shave at all today. I like you being a bit stubbly. It's rather sexy.
Well, now stop being provocative, Mrs. Tyson.
Darling, I haven't got time to be provocative. I've got to be at work sharp on 9. I've got some masses to do today.
Yes, and I've got to go and call on Lynn. Yeah, you're quite right.
There's always this evening.
What, after we've got the kids to bed? After you've done all the work you bring home from the office? When we're both punch-drunk and half asleep? I don't know. How do people with jobs and families ever find the time?
We will. But I really have got a brute of a day today.
Yeah, me too. You know, I think I'd better make an effort and try to shave.
Whatever for? You afraid of Lynn?
What a ridiculous thing to say. Of course I'm not.
Well, then what does it matter if you're unshaven?
Oh, she has a nasty knack of cutting you down to size. And I want to keep the upper hand in this particular interview. One thing, I'm going to take her by surprise. That's always a good beginning.
Do you think you'll be able to pin her down this time?
Oh, every time I broach the subject, she's made some excuse and wriggled out of it. She's not going to wriggle any more. This afternoon, I'm going round to the restaurant and I'm certainly going to pin her down. We've got to come to a definite arrangement. Jeremy's been at the old bakery for nearly 3 months now. This is his home and it's high time he came back to us.
We don't want to start another series of arguments with Lynn and Matt.
I'm not going to argue with her, darling. I'm going to tell her.
Oh, there you are, Rob. Are you busy?
Not particularly. I was just laying up the tables ready for this evening.
Well, could you leave it for a while? I've got the new menus roughed out, the ones we were discussing on Saturday, and I'd rather like to go through them with you.
Yes, okay. Is Sophie in the office?
No, she's gone off for her break. Why?
Oh, that's all right. So we can talk privately, can't we?
Yes, of course. Is something the matter?
Well, I'm not sure, but I'd like to have a word with you on your own.
Oh. All right, Rob. Let's go into the office.
I'll just shut the door, if you don't mind. It's about Jeremy.
What about Jeremy?
Well, the other day you told me you didn't want me to take him swimming because he was starting a cold.
Yes, well?
Yesterday, Alexis called in to collect your handbag and he happened to mention that he'd taken Jeremy to the baths on Saturday.
Oh, I see. Yes, that's absolutely right. I thought Jeremy was getting a bit of a sniffle on Friday, but it didn't amount to anything, so I decided to let him go after all. He'd have been disappointed to miss it.
So he went with Alexis instead?
Yes, well, by then we'd arranged to do some work on the menus, hadn't we? I didn't want to change our plans again.
But Alexis also told me that he'd be going to the baths regularly with Jeremy from now on, instead of me.
Oh. Well, I meant to tell you about that. We got so much work done here on Saturday, it seemed to be a good idea for us to go on using that time for a weekly planning meeting.
It also seemed a good idea for me not to go swimming with your son anymore, right?
But I just explained.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't believe your explanation. Have you changed your opinion of me in the last few days?
Of course not.
Could it by any chance be connected with the fact that Rocky Rowlands came here to meet me the other night?
Rob, I don't want to go into all this.
But I do. Look, you've reached your own conclusions about my private life. And now, in the light of what you know, or think you know, you've decided I'm not fit to be trusted to look after your son, right?
I never said that.
I'm homosexual, I'm not denying that. But that doesn't mean I go around molesting children.
Rob, will you please let me speak? I'm not attempting to dictate to you how you live your life. But equally, you can't dictate to me how I choose to bring up my son.
You don't trust me.
I just feel it would be better.
You think it's a sort of infectious disease he could pick up by spending a few hours in my company? Is that really what you think?
I don't know, Rob.
No, you don't know. That's the trouble. You jump to all sorts of conclusions. You get into a panic. You treat me as if I was some kind of monster. And you don't know the first thing about it.
Well, who's next on the list?
Graham MacFarlane.
Which one is he?
You know, we saw him last week, the Australian.
Oh, yes. Oh, that one. Yes, I remember.
I rather liked him, actually.
Yes, I remember that as well. Don't want to influence your decision, Liz, but he could be a problem, I suspect.
In what way?
Well, that's a question of personality. You don't want someone who's going to get on everybody's nerves, do you?
Oh, I don't think he'd do that, from the little that we saw of him.
Well, it's up to you, of course. I'm only running up a small red flag to warn you. Have you thought how he and Maurice would get on, for instance?
Oh, shush. This'll be him. Come in.
Hello there, it's me again.
Oh, so it is. Come on in, Mr. MacFarlane. Shut the door, would you?
Hello, Mrs. Tyson.
Hello. Sit down, won't you? How did you find out my married name?
I go around asking questions.
Which no doubt makes you an excellent reporter. But it may not win you a lot of friends.
But my friends take me as they find me. As for the rest, if I upset people, that's too bad. I can't help the way I am, and I'm too old to change now, I reckon.
How old are you, by the way, Mr. MacFarlane?
24. And the name's Graham.
That's what it says here on my list. Thank you.
Generally known as Gray. Graham MacFarlane's a bit of a mouthful when you're trying to get your foot in the door.
Well, Gray, now why don't we go back to the beginning? How long have you been in England?
I left Melbourne last September.
You came to London on business, did you?
Oh, no. Listen, I've been bumming my way around Europe. I spent Christmas in Norway, New Year in Stockholm, and finally landed in London. And of all the places I've seen, I reckon this suits me best. I'm hoping to settle here, for a while anyhow.
For a while? You mean you're only here temporarily?
Who knows? I never planned very far ahead. But if I like working here, and if you like me, I might put down roots maybe. I guess I've got to stop bumming around someday.
I don't quite understand. If you've just been bumming around ever since you left Australia, what have you been living on?
I've been doing different jobs along the way. A bit of grape picking, washing up in cafes. I got a job.
I see. Yes, and you threw up your job on a newspaper in Melbourne to do that, did you?
Listen, my motto is, grab the chances while you can. They might never come again. I resigned from the paper back
You
home.
resigned?
They didn't beat me out of it, that's what you mean. Oh, hang on, I've got some references here to prove it. They were really sorry to let me go, I'm not kidding. But the thing was, I'd written this novel, you see.
Another novelist? I'm beginning to feel outclassed.
Okay, Liz. Yes, go on, Mr. MacFarlane. You wrote a novel. Was it published?
Oh, yes. And everybody's great surprise, it won a prize. Best first novel of the year, you know, the sort of thing. Wasn't any great shakes, believe me, but the prize was in cash. Enough to buy me a one-way ticket to Europe. And here I am.
Yes, I see. Congratulations.
And by that time, you'd been working on the newspaper how long?
Ever since I left school. I started as an office boy and worked my way up. Oh, listen, I've had all the proper training. I went through what we call a cadetship back home. I've got my union card and all that.
An Australian card. So you'd still need a work permit before we could take you on. I suppose you know that.
Yeah, well, I could apply, couldn't I? That's the old catch-22. You can't have a work permit till you got a job. You can't get a job till you got a work permit.
Oh, I'm sure it could be managed, couldn't it, Mike?
I don't really know much about it. We'd have to check with the NUJ, of course. You see, we've never employed an Australian on the Herald before.
Well, I've never worked for a woman editor before, so that makes us even.
Oh, hello, Lynn.
Peter, how did you get in?
Oh, well, Rob was just going out as I arrived.
Oh, was he?
His afternoon break. You unlock the ball and chain.
Yes, that's right. He'll be back later. Well, do sit down if you can find room. Move those menus off the chair.
Is something wrong, Lynn?
What do you mean?
Oh, you seem to be rather... Well, I don't know, has something happened?
No, of course not. I'm just, well, we've all been very busy. It's one of those days.
Well, I hope this might be a good moment to talk to you.
Well, I'm afraid it isn't. You should have telephoned first. I could have told you.
We've got to talk sometime, you know.
Or some other time, then, because this afternoon I'm really
That's
much
what
too
you said
busy.
to me every day, and we can't keep putting it off forever.
I'm not trying to put it off.
Yes, you are, Lynn.
Nonsense. It's just, well, when I'm at work, I've got 1,000,001 things to do. You know that. Sometime when I'm off duty and we can both sit down quietly
And when will that be? In 1984?
Soon. Very soon. We'll make a date. Next weekend, perhaps. How's that?
No, Lynn. You carry on and do whatever it is you've got to do now, and I'll sit here and I'll wait until you've finished. I'm not leaving till we've got this sorted out. I mean that.
Can I help you? I'm looking for somebody called Foster. Alan Foster, I think it was.
No, there's nobody here by that name. Are you sure you've got the right place?
I think so. They said I'd find him here.
You're sure he works for the Herald?
Oh, no, he doesn't. And I hope he never will.
Eh?
Well, nothing personal, you understand, but there's only one job going, and I've got my eye on it. They told me to send in the next man. Foster, his name is.
Oh, that'll be a fella in glasses that just asked me where the gents was. I'll be back in a moment.
Oh, that's all right, then. I suppose you must be Maurice Gill.
That's me. How did you know?
I've been doing my homework. It wasn't hard to guess. My name's MacFarlane. Glad to meet you, Mr. Gill.
How do you do? Oh, that's a good Scottish name, anyhow.
Oh, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm from the Melbourne branch of the clan. But I certainly hope I'll be seeing you again.
Well, I wish you luck. How did you get on at your interview?
Hard to say, really. I got one vote for and one against, I reckon.
Well, Mike Nash is no fool, and if he's on your side, you're in with a chance.
Oh, no, it wasn't him. It was her. I really hit it off with Liz Warner from the word go. You can always tell, can't you? Now, if I get the job, it'll be because she's rooting for me.
Is that a fact? Look, there's no need for you to hang around, Mr. MacFarlane. I'll tell that fella Foster they're ready for him when he comes out.
Oh, I'm in no hurry. I like it here. This office has a really good atmosphere. Know what I mean? That's one of the reasons I'm dead keen to get the job. I could feel it the minute I walked in. This is how it ought to be. One big, happy family.
I can't let him go.
I beg your pardon.
I can't let Jeremy come back to you. I want him to stay with me at the old bakery.
Lynn, you've got to be reasonable. You've had him with you now for 3 months.
Exactly. Long enough for him to settle down. Long enough for us to discover that this is a perfectly good arrangement.
His home is with us at Minden Road.
He doesn't want to go back to Minden Road, Peter. He feels like a fish out of water there with those 3 little
Oh,
girls.
for heaven's sake, Lynn, they're his sisters. He's part of our family.
He's my son too, Peter. And he's very happy living with me and Matt. I don't want to change the arrangement.
Now you're just being absurd. Stop and think.
This isn't something I thought up on the spur of the moment. I've been mulling it over for a long time now. These 3 months have been a sort of experiment, and the experiment has been very successful. Let's leave things as they are, please.
No, Lynn.
You can see him whenever you want to. He can come over to Minden Road for
Look,
visits.
there's no point in arguing about it. Haven't you overlooked something? When it comes down to brass tacks, this decision isn't up to you or me. It's a decision that was taken a long time ago in court, when you agreed that I should have custody, care, and control of Jeremy.
No, Peter.
You've got to accept that, Lynn. The decision is legally binding on us.
It's not an irreversible decision, is it?
As far as I'm concerned, it is. I'm prepared to find out from Jeremy what he really wants, but you should be prepared to do the same. Lynn, I won't have Jeremy shuttled to and fro to suit your whims, and you and Matt had better make up your minds to accept that.
And don't forget, you can hear an omnibus edition of Waggoner's Walk at 5 o'clock every Sunday afternoon here on Radio 2. But now it's back to